we can kick off.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. And can I have somebody want to approve the minutes?
Do you need a motion?
Motion to approve, yeah, motion to approve the minutes, sorry. And can I have a second to approve the minutes?
I'll second.
There we go. We
Okay,
got a second.
all right, awesome. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Okay, the minutes are approved. And we'll move on to the visitor comments and the visitors that we have. Eric, if you want to go over that.
So
first.
just, I think we have one. Mark, if you just want to introduce yourself quickly for the group, that's all you have to do, unless you have any comments you want to make.
My name is Mark Brennan. I'm a commercial real estate broker. I work with Cozad Commercial Group over in Maplewood. The short story is I represent a client, a real estate investor who has an interest in purchasing a piece of property that I believe is in the Crossroads Business District, and wanted to talk briefly about how we could use that property.
Great.
Sorry, Mark, could you spell your last name for me?
Brennan, it's Brennan.
Thank you.
And I'm with Cozad Group
So with a C or a K?
with a C.
Thank you.
Mark, thanks for being here. You'll hear a little bit about the district today, and then either myself, but probably Mara more in terms of uses of the property would be your appropriate spot.
Great.
If you want any tax breaks, you come see me, but you know, that's
Great.
all right.
Okay, and then I think we are going to move new business in front of old business. So Mara,
We are, but we have a new commission member
Okay.
that has been appointed since your last meeting, so I will turn it to introductions. I'll let you do your own honors.
Hi, I'm Julia. I'm the owner of Descendant on 8715 Big Bend. We just celebrated our 3rd year in business, and now that we're settled in, I thought it was about time I joined the group over here. So I'm happy to be here, and yeah, nice to meet you. Even though I think I've met.
awesome. Good
And
to
then-
meet you too. We're super happy to have you.
And for everyone's information, Julie is also our Crossroads member on the BDC, the
Oh,
Business
great.
Development Commission, so.
Got to.
Excellent. Okay. Now
Great.
can I move?
Now we'll go to new business, yep.
Awesome.
So, awesome.
All right.
Mara, come on up, and so we'll start. This is a sort of a dual issue. One being that we'll talk about some of the concerns that have popped up with the increased traffic from Bagel Union. So that's part of this, but first Mara has some issues about the parking lot to the south of the buildings. Big Ben, which one are we talking about?
No, we're not
Okay.
talking about the parking lot at all.
Never mind, we're not talking about parking lot. I'm confused on my issues. Mara, what are we talking about?
That's okay. So, because we have a couple properties, that are, up for lease or up for sale within the district, been getting a lot of calls, including from Mark, and others about, uses in the district. And the north side of the property, or the north side of Crossroads, is pretty straightforward. It's the C commercial district. So I just go to the code, I look at the sections, I tell someone whether a use is allowed or not allowed. So for example, the new barber came in, talked with us, we worked through what they needed, they got their building permits and went on their merry way. But the south side is a little more complicated. So 8720 through 8780 Big Bend is a PC planned commercial district. When you're in a PC district, there's a site specific ordinance, and it gives a list of here are the uses that are allowed, or here's the development regulations you need to follow. Here's what you can and can't do. And the problem is this ordinance is from 1999. We've gotten better over the decades in learning how to write these ordinances so that they apply to the property for a long period of time, and that they don't stand to a certain point where there's an issue related to it doesn't match the code anymore. And this is what's coming up with this one. So as people ask me about what can go into buildings from that 8720 through 8780, which was all developed, which did create the public parking lot on the south side of Crossroads. But when they talk to me about that, I no longer can reference it correctly because the way they listed the uses is a code section that doesn't exist anymore. So what We reviewed this with the city attorney because at the time, it wasn't the property owners that went in for the rezoning, it was the city that went in for the rezoning. So normally I would go back to the property owner and say, hey, let's talk about potentially updating your ordinance or doing something else. But in this case, we are the ones who created the ordinance in the first place. So the plan is to have a public hearing before the city council on April 4th. So I wanted to get that out as soon as possible to everyone. There will be an ad in the paper this coming Friday, as well as an ad in the paper the next Friday. The hearing will be at 7:30. It'll be basically one of the first items on the agenda. And what our proposal is, and we'll have something pretty soon that'll be available, but we're proposing to just update all the language in this ordinance, try to keep in the regulations that they put. But for example, because the building on the corner hadn't been built yet, it talks about the building being maybe about 200, 2,400 square feet. It talks about some of the other uses of, well, if it's not covered here, just follow the code. There's some things that don't match in terms of the different ordinances that have been put in place for parking. So usually what you want in this ordinance is to say it's only anything that's special above and beyond. But if it follows everything else in the code, you don't want to reference those things. So if we already have an ordinance that says there's 2-hour parking in the public parking lot, you don't want something that conflicts with it in the site specific ordinance. So the plan is we weren't going to take it all the way back to Plan Commission because we're really just trying to update it to match the code. We're going to take it straight to City Council for a hearing, but anyone has the ability to talk at the hearing. We are sending letters, not just normally we send letters to people that are within 185 feet. We normally don't have to inform the property owners within the actual zoning, but in this case, again, because it's this oddity, every property owner in this particular 8720 through 8780 will get a letter in addition to everyone within 185 feet. For those that are leasing, it's going to be the building owner versus the tenant. So that's why we wanted to make sure to try to get some of the information out as soon as possible. We will potentially try to send also to the mailing address so that it potentially gets to some of the tenants too. But it will be a public hearing. You'll be able to speak at that public hearing if you have any questions or concerns. The ordinance will be available as a draft ahead of time. I haven't started working on it yet, but I will soon. And if anyone wants to see, I'm happy to send to Eric and he can send out the current ordinance. But for example, it sort of says things about no meals shall be served on the premises because there was a potential coffee shop going in on that side. So, just some oddities about how the uses were listed. And then again, it talks about that all the uses shall be permitted in 53-141 sections 1 through 5. 53-141 1 through 5 doesn't exist anymore because we have updated all of the uses. So what we would do is make sure that we're integrating all the updates that we've been doing over the last 20 years in terms of uses and try to tie that in. So I wanted to make sure to come to all of you, give you that heads up before the letters go out, before the ad goes in the paper, and then be available to answer any questions.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions right now? Okay.
Great.
So Mara, don't go anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, so-
Staying here.
So in relation, we had a question come in and I'll certainly let Heidi speak to it, but just about some parking and traffic concerns with Bagel Union coming in, and namely the increased traffic, what that brings to the district and such. I know Officers Flannery and Razul did chat with Bagel Union yesterday. I want to be very clear. No one's alleging any violations. This isn't that kind of issue. It's just increased traffic, increased presence, changes the tone and tenor of how things are working. I shouldn't say no one's alleging any violations on behalf of Bagel Union. There may be, bad customers along the way. So, so Heidi did email me about some things that, have come up, namely parking on Big Bend, which is 2-hour parking, but people hanging out, essentially tailgating, right? Having their bagels by their cars and such
Right,
like
they're-
that. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
they're tailgating, and if the weather is nice, they're tailgating, and then they're also like kind of setting up a picnic on the sidewalk and they have little children running around, and I mean, it's just kind of, it's concerning. There's a couple of issues. It's concerning from that standpoint. And then also we're unable to get other businesses in the area. Their customers are unable to park near them. And I have had both UPS and FedEx come in and ask me about this because they're unable to get in on that side to make deliveries to businesses over there. So those were the three major things, but the biggest concern being, I mean, we're talking small children, like 6 and 7 year olds or younger, like running around in between these cars and on the sidewalk there, and it's kind of concerning.
So
And that's when the weather's nice. When the weather's super cold and not nice, then you just have the formal line that's trying to get in. And I just want to say that we're all very happy to have them in the district. I don't want to come off as if we're not happy to have them in the districts, and we're just trying to address these issues as they come up.
certainly. So I'm going to turn it to Officer Razul and Sergeant Flannery, who are both here in terms of enforcement of issues. We'll come back and talk about the Alma lot, which came up just briefly in this conversation.
So we did speak with the general manager yesterday. Obviously, they were expecting the turnout they did with the which we all assumed the popularity of it. They have done some internal things different with their line system. So they've noticed it things are going quicker inside, so that thus reducing the line. Not saying there isn't one, but they've changed some things once they've been out open for a couple of weeks. And so they're working on that. They're aware of the line. A lot of the issues, you know, if they walk away, as soon as they walk away from the business, there's little they can do. They're no longer, you know, unfortunately, it's rude people throwing trash or whatever. And, you know, I guess the kids, that's pretty much a parent issue, but, you know, so we are enforcing it. We're looking for parking violations. We did eliminate the bus stop in front there. So we have 3 new spots because it was an open parking lane. And the only reason parking wasn't allowed there was because it was a bus stop, which has not been used since November of 2021. So I talked with Metro St. Louis County. So we added 3 spots in front there. What else do you got?
So as far as the parking on Big Bend, the 2 hour, I'm gonna keep an eye on it this week and next week to see how the traffic is moving and if anybody's spending more than 2 hours in the bagel shop, which would be weird to just sit there. But if they are parking, I will be issuing tickets on Big Bend, and I watch Alma as well just to see, you know, I guess what they're doing after they get their bagel. But I try to do my best to monitor the area, but again, that requires me to just sit there all day, which I have to move around other places as well. But I'll definitely keep an eye on it this week and next week, and then I can have an update on what I did and how things are moving.
So on Alma, just to be clear, for the Alma lot, that lot is not signed for 2 hour parking. It is it's continuous parking, and I'm sure some employees use that lot. So I don't know if we want to go down a 2 hour parking lot, but just so you're aware.
No, I think, I'm sorry. I said, I'm just thinking, you know, I think when I spoke to the other property owners, it was just to be able to get customers or deliveries in and out. And then there was a general, you know, concern about the safety. Even if you're tailgating in a parking lot and you have a bunch of kids running around, it's kind of like the 4th of July parking lot here. We learned that you don't put vehicles and picnics and tailgating going on at the same time. I think, you know, I think the most important thing is the safety of the people involved in all this. That's all.
So you mentioned deliveries, and I'll look at Mara as well to make sure, obviously it's a county road, but is there any value from the US businesses along there, but also Mara from us in terms of dealing with the county and officers as well in a 15-minute delivery pickup spot somewhere on the north side of Big Bend? And I'm assuming county would be amenable. Usually they are to those things.
Usually, yeah. So as long as but we have to go through them because
Exactly.
they have to do an ordinance before we can do an ordinance. Yeah.
So that is something we can certainly approach the county on. So I'm bringing that up if deliveries are an issue. And then if you have any preferences where along there, I mean, obviously it's county's road, so we'll work with them, but we can go down that road too.
I personally don't have any preferences, but I'll ask the business owners on that side. What their preference is. I'm just assuming as the weather gets better and better, and Julie and Julia, you can both speak to this as well, since you're both on that side. When the weather is really good, there is a lot of, I don't want to say loitering, but there's a lot of social dynamic around eating bagels together, sitting on a sidewalk, sitting in the middle of a parking lot. I'm not sure how to address this. I mean, Mara, it's kind of like the 4th of July when we're watching fireworks over on this parking lot here, quite a few.
Well, I think the 2-hour parking signs on the north side may have been practical at one time and put there for a certain purpose, but I think that's kind of changed dramatically. And I think it invites people to hang out as long as they want and tailgate and take their time with their bagels. And I would like to see just like a 30-minute parking. I mean, I would go for the max and say 15 all along the north, but because I don't think that would be enforced anyway. I mean, I don't think there's any way to enforce 15-minute parking, but to at least lower it as much as we possibly could. Because my customers will circle with their items to bring in, looking for a spot. If they come back around and it's still all the same cars, they just have no prayer and they'll just go home because framing is not a priority.
Yeah, I love the traffic. It's been really great for my business. I do think a 30-minute would be reasonable. I think 15 minutes is too short if somebody's trying to come to my business and then also go to Lark and also grab a bagel. You know what I mean? You want to give them the opportunity to kind of hang out on the street, but I think 30 minutes is enough. I might be blind to the children just because I have a 6 and a 9-year-old, so they're all just doing that to me anyway. But the UPS guy for sure has been frustrated dropping stuff off at my business, being like, there's nowhere for me to park. I'm double blocked. Somebody's honking at me. So, it's tricky.
And that's what UPS and FedEx have done. They just double park there and block, and I don't know that that's a good situation either.
So moving below 2 hours, I don't know that it's a problem. I mean, I think we can do it. However, it'll be the first time I think that we'd have a segment of spots throughout anywhere in the city that are below 2-hour parking, which is fine. So I'm just, as you think about that, and we don't have to answer this right now because we'll deal with county and see what their preferences are. Is that long enough for the collection of businesses for customers to mill? If the district does grow and you have foot traffic, parking and then moving do you want that shorter? Do you want 2 hours? All those things. Do you want an hour? Just think through it. Go ahead.
The fitness business, I don't think 30 is gonna be enough.
Even in the haircut, the barber shop.
Right.
So I just bring that up. 30 minutes. I understand the desire to turn the spots around and such. It's going to, some businesses may not be in the same spot with their customer turnover.
The architects.
Yeah.
The taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the accounting office. The
Yeah.
accounting office, you need more than that. And really, the Alma lot was set up so that we'd have some parking
Right.
for the people who are working here because we were taking up all the spots on the road.
I wonder how much of this is really a short-term issue, like if it's still,
Right.
every week it seems to kind of die down a little more from the initial rush. So I'm curious to see kind of how it all shakes out just naturally.
I mean, perhaps we could just start with the ability for UPS and FedEx to deliver without double parking and trying to get deliveries in there and see if because the novelty of it all, it was in such anticipation that this place opened, and the novelty of it all, like you said, Julie, is probably going to taper down a bit. Maybe we could start there with the delivery.
Can,
Officer, go ahead.
so if it's like the ones in Old Webster, that say 15-minute delivery or pickup.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna assume I'm just picking up a bagel, so I'm gonna
Yeah,
park there.
no,
I think it would almost be pointless because that would be occupied by people picking up all day long.
Could be great for you though, especially because people have, like, if your people here also, I don't know. Or if somebody is just grabbing a bagel in 15 minutes, then okay, whatever, they're gone.
But that's a huge, I mean, I get what you're saying, but that's different from UPS and FedEx
Yeah.
as
Right.
opposed to picking up a bagel or a frame or whatever. So I don't,
If we're really looking for UPS and FedEx, I use 15 minutes as the waste rate that we do deliveries now, throughout the other business districts, but if you want a delivery only spot, I mean, we can ask again, county road, have to see what the options are, so. And what they're
Okay.
willing, so, yep, we can do that.
Okay, so then let's see what the options are for that from county.
Sounds good.
Sounds good to
So-
everybody?
So just real quick, we did talk briefly about trash issues. I don't, officers, did that come up at all yesterday?
it was in the email.
The email, right, so, we'll see, I've got the satellite screen up here so you can see the sidewalks, as we all know, are pretty tight, right? We don't
Right.
have an agreement with the county for right of way, which is why when the trash cans with the business districts had, were a little bit back off in, properties, that agreed to them. Per your request, we pulled the trash cans, however, if you want, we can put trash cans back out, a couple in the district. And to give you a sense of what's coming, the city is has been awarded a grant recycling container. So we'll have some to go out across, blue recycling containers to go out across the 3 business districts. So now, I didn't plan to put any in Crossroads, but if you want to put the trash cans back, I think we should put recycling cans in with it. So just a couple, maybe just one, but if that would help with trash concerns, from folks leaving bagel holders and such. So
So
looking
when
around
we had
here.
when we had the trash can, I was only aware of one that was on our side, the south side of the street.
Yeah, there was one on our maps long ago, Mara, you may remember, was it down, I think somewhere down here?
There was one further down.
Yeah. There was one further down, it was gone when I started here at the city, but it was on the maps identified, so.
And there also used to be one, I thought, where Digital Strike, well, where Bob Springer's building was, there used to be one over there too, because there was a city bench and I thought a trash can there too. There used to be 3, if I remember correctly.
So go ahead.
So if we put the trash can back, like maybe put it up at the corner, right at the corner of their building in their parking lot. Like right there, is the city still responsible for emptying that, or does that become Bagel Union's responsibility for emptying that? Because remember, the problem we had, it was getting so terribly overflowed.
Right, so you're absolutely right, there's no guarantee that Waste Management has improved their service. Now, that said, it seems like it's gone better as we've gone through the winter months, but there's been less people putting trash in cans in the other districts. If we do put it, we'd have to have Bagel Union's permission to put it on their property. And I would expect that if we're placing it, they would want us to be the pickup agent, meaning Waste Management. So now we can come to an agreement with them, but there's not, we can put it in the right of way. It's still Waste Management's job. If we have that agreement with the county, we don't need the property owner's agreement. So.
Anybody have any suggestions on that?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think a trash can would be nice. I mean, people are throwing receipts in my planters and I go out there every day and pick up little pieces. But that being said, I don't know if I really want to be the one to change that trash if people are throwing
Right.
pet waste or whatever in there
So-
too,
We did mention the problems, Bagel Union, the thing is, as we discussed before, as soon as they walk out that door,
Right.
it's not Bagel Union's fault. If we put a trash can there, it's almost irrelevant, because if they're going down the street and tailgating, if they're throwing it on the ground, they're not gonna walk all the way back to Bagel Union from their car to throw it away just to walk back. So, I mean, maybe some strategically placed
Right.
ones along the block.
That's what I was thinking, but again, that means, we'll have to get the agreement with the county, which I don't, I talked to the area engineer yesterday, doesn't seem to have any issues with that. It's just a matter of, we don't know how good Waste Management will be picking up cans, so we may be back to a case where we're hounding them to get them to show up, and I can't control that other than we continue to hound them, so.
Okay, well, maybe we can, watch it here and try to figure out where the best place to put a trash can or 2 would be.
I'm gonna guess that, off the top of my head, we can easily, Mara, and I always welcome your wisdom because you deal with this, but along the north side, we could almost drop at the corners here, and then we can look at south side if we have any issues happening, as well. I'm going to just anecdotally know that our foot traffic, diminishes greatly down this way. So we're really talking this space between Alma and Elm, in terms of where we're putting cans, so.
Or were the trash cans removed in the first place?
So we only had one since I've been here. It was removed over here because Waste Management was not picking up and it was overflowing.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry about
so.
that.
Could we put one trash can if they're going over the Elm a lot by our recycling?
Absolutely. We can put the cans wherever. We just, again,
Because otherwise they'll throw it in the recycling
Yep.
if they throw it anywhere.
so absolutely can do that. So I mean, we can look at all those things. So,
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
all right. I don't think I have anything more on that topic from our end. Heidi, is that covered for you?
Yeah, we'll check it out and revisit the issue and just kind of keep watching it as we go here.
Officers, anything from you on that one? All right. All right, we can go to old business, Heidi.
All right, old business, the streetscape.
Streetscape, the update is the same update that we had last month. They haven't let the RFPs and they, Heidi, have not given me a date to have you and Chris join them for the advisory selection and advisory committee, so.
Okay. We're really kind of going.
I did want to just highlight that Heidi did an absolutely wonderful job presenting on the streetscape and the business district to the council on March 7th, so.
Only because Eric was there to help me.
that's all good.
Good job.
it-
Good job.
The council is, I do, and I relayed this to Heidi, but the council, as I've talked to them, is incredibly committed. They want, they've asked me repeatedly, is the Crossroads money safe for the streetscape? And of course it is, we've got it locked into the capital plan, but very big on seeing a well-done streetscape and really highlighting that entryway into the city, so.
Awesome. Okay, shall we move on to the budget?
Everyone's favorite.
Yep.
All right, so I'm gonna share a load of screens up. Let me just do it this way so you can all see it. Those, you don't need to see Google anymore, so let's go there. So let me start with this screen here. I will get all these things out of the way. This is not printed, so people in the room don't have this. So we have talked about the formula for determining the splits between the business district revenue that flows into the Parks Business District, the transfer, as we call it, in the past. That formula has never been written down here at the city. It's fluctuated year to year. So what we did is, what I did, and I want to be very clear, is created a formula table weighting three different factors that, as we talk about the budget today, and it's really, I think the big issue for Crossroads is, what does the Parks Department do for the business district in that revenue transfer? So one of them is assessed value, which, and I'll just walk through this for all three business districts. This is the 2022 assessed value, so the taxes we've collected in this budget year. We don't know how much taxes will be next year because obviously assessed values haven't been set, but we know there's about a 3% increase every time the new assessments come through. So every odd numbered year. So we expect a 3% jump in assessed value next year. So I've built that in. Now that number could change, right? So this is an estimate game, unfortunately, when we do the budget and the way that our year lines up versus the tax year. So with that increase, your assessed value is 13.27% of the total across the three business districts. Okay. And I've weighted that at 50% of that percentage is your part of, when we look at that weight going into the overall formula on what you contribute. Okay, so that's 6.63%. Cold season maintenance, we've identified by feet, because again, while you're a smaller district, right, you're not a compact district, meaning that it's you're not just one block, right? You stretch a couple blocks. But obviously, as you can see, by feet of roadway and sidewalk and things that need cold season maintenance, mostly snow shoveling or leaf blowing and things like that, you are far smaller than Old Orchard or Old Webster with the amount of streets that Parks Department would put on. And so your percentage is there. We weighted that at 25% of the overall total. Warm season maintenance, and Allison, this gets to your question in terms of what do they provide in terms of pots and flowers and such like that. You have about 15% of the overall spend on warm season maintenance. Now that is not just hours. That is also the commodities that go in, the pots and the flower plants and such that are actually put in. And I just want to be very clear. Your boundary is just north of the interstate, so you don't pay for any of the, as we just confirmed with Mara, under the interstate, the tiered planting beds and such in there, so at the Elm interchange. So we weighted that at 25% again, which gives you a total percentage, if we just take this formula as is, at 14.49% of the Parks District budget, okay? Right now, the Parks Department, if you can see my cursor going here, has requested hours at 89.5. So that's how much money they've asked for people time for the business district transfer, materials and supplies at 25,000, 25,350. So a total budget of 114,850. If we take that and you're 14.49%, you're going to go at 16,000, just a little over 16,000 is the transfer, okay? That's just me putting in the numbers. That's not us making the decisions that we're going to make today. So I'm going to switch real quick and show you your preliminary budget. If you remember last time that we talked, had a transfer of 23,000. You see that on the screen in front of you there? So if we reduce that to 6, I'm going to go all the way to the bottom line. You were expected to have a loss of $3,000 in your general fund. If we just take the formula I just put together and apply that 16,000, you will actually end the year with a surplus, or meaning that you'll put a little money back in your fund balance. You won't deplete your savings, the issue we've talked about. Okay. And that's as we've redone that formula and looked and factored all those things in. Now, I am open to conversation about these factors here. Allison, I will tell you, I have been waiting with bated breath, and I want to check here because I don't want to lie to you and make sure. Oh, look at that. Yvonne just sent me your itemized list that you were looking for. Allison, how many flower pots and such? You have 5 large pots and 29 iPots. So that's what you'll be having put in the district. So a total of 34 different flower planters going in. And that is where I'm accounting for this 15%, which means if you decide not to do, let's just say cold season maintenance. I know Jeff mentioned that. If we take that out of your budget, we will go back and pull out a certain number of hours, because that's really what that is. It's people cost. Reduce this to 0, your maintenance fees and such, and then reduce the overall budget, and that will shrink your contribution. So if we go, and if you want to change and get rid of flowers, or warm season maintenance, obviously we need to go back and reestimate personnel and materials and supplies, the commodities that go into that. So.
Okay, so
Go ahead, sorry.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
for the cold season maintenance, that does not include the Alma parking lot and the parking lot behind the public parking lot behind our building, correct? I mean,
That's correct.
that's
Those
snow
are
plowed anyway, right?
that is going to be plowed by the city regardless. So this is about the extra service. I use that term just to be very clear. We don't plow anyone else's sidewalks in the city other than the business districts, and you pay for it via this transfer. All sidewalks are the property owner's responsibility. So.
Okay.
So what sidewalks would that leave in the Crossroads for them to plow?
If you take out and not do any, there would not be any sidewalks plowed by the city. Sidewalks by city ordinance are the property owner's responsibility to clear off, not the city's. So from what I understand, the other 2 business districts probably started this, had a private contractor who cleaned them. That got too expensive, so they came to the city, and so the city's been doing that as a service, but it is technically not a municipal function. So if you go up Alma, a homeowner has to clean those off.
And it's sometime during the day, not necessarily by the start of business day.
That's correct. Yeah, it could be Parks is, certainly it'll be at some point, but it doesn't have to, it won't be before that. So
Right.
It's when they get to it.
So for cold season maintenance is really all we're getting the sidewalks?
Yes, and you also get the cold season maintenance, just to be clear, includes bundled in it, and we'll figure it out. the homemade that hardly cost anything other than people hours. The deer holiday decorations and such, so.
Gotcha.
But that's an hourly cost because we really don't put any money into that other than people time to take old wood and make those decorations, so.
Got it.
And so can we à la carte that then, where we
You can
don't
tell
want
me
the
to.
sidewalks done, but we want the holiday decorations done?
Yep, we can figure that out, so.
Okay,
There are, and I have provided, and I'll just show you here, so you all can see what we work with. I'm gonna pull this screen up and you have this in front of you here. It's called the preliminary, or excuse me, the budget worksheet report. Let me grab it here. And this will all go out by email. This is the Parks Department request. Right here, and really, as you can see, it is not overly complex in what they request, and they don't itemize in the request all these things. So if we want to à la carte, it'll take a little breakdown, but we can do it. You know, they've got the people, the hours, so we've got a total across all three business districts of 2,080 plus 1,560 hours, so about 3,500 hours, 3,600 hours of staff time across the three districts. Personnel costs associated with that, and then scrolling down, it's literally the commodities that are put in. So, and those are, that's the flowers, the soil and such like that. So, but if you want to à la carte, we are happy to go through and itemize that out and take out snow maintenance, you know, and such. So you get the holiday decorations, but not the snow maintenance. We'll refigure all that.
okay. And then in the years that we're doing the streetscape, it would be foolish to put the pots out for any season if all that's going on along the roadway. And
Correct.
we can take that out of the budget for those years, correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
And I just want to highlight that winter maintenance, you know, if we have any snow remaining this year, if you decide not to do snow maintenance, would continue. This would be next winter season that we're talking about. So the winter 23 to 24.
Okay,
Well,
Alright.
I move we do that.
So
Break it
and
out. Yeah, break it out and figure out, you take the snow removal away.
there needs to be a second ID.
anybody want to second that?
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye,
Aye,
and all those that are opposed say nay. All right, the ayes have it.
And then I just wanted to highlight, so again, before we take that snow removal out, you're going to already be in a positive. I just wanted to look back across your budget, since this is the time to make any final adjustments. Your taxes, we had, again, estimate that 3% increase. Your business licenses, we expect about 10,000, so that's good news coming in. This will diminish at least to 16, will really be more when we take the snow out, but that gives you a good sense of where we're at. Professional services, I don't anticipate any changes there, but that's up to you. So we've got 1150 in there. Recycling, I am seeking bids from Aspen Services. The recycling cost, you all haven't experienced this from Republic, but Old Webster and Old Orchard have just been, their bills have been astronomical. And they've added a recycling processing charge on now. That's running about $150 a month more for their recycling dumpster. So I may have a bid that reduces this price, maybe, if we change companies. So, but you as Crossroads have not seen that issue on your bill. I don't know why you're not getting it, but they're getting it, but it's the same.
Well, the one here on the lot behind our building, we have experienced about a threefold increase.
Right.
So for those property owners that pay into that recycling and trash removal on the, what are we, the north side?
Yep.
North side, we've experienced quite an increase as well.
Okay, the one on the Alma lot, for some reason, those processing charges haven't been applied to that bill. So I'm just letting you know, I'm getting that quote to look at the potential of changing that service to help control the cost. The only thing I can think of that you may want to add, and I can tell you right now, the nice trash cans like the other districts have they're about, I think it's $1,600 now. Everything's more expensive. but they do match the rest of the city's accoutrement and such. So we can I can add a couple in. You've got capacity now that we've done this, or we could just let it be and see if we really want to do trash cans and come back and amend the budget at a later time. So.
How many were you intending on adding in?
Well, we've got extra older ones. They're not going to be the ones that look like the rest of the city, the metal ones that you see with the hood. I mean, we've got plenty of we call them the stone ones. They are and then there's the older green ones like you had there. And so we can put those back. I'm just letting you know, we can wait for the streetscape and pay for new trash cans that way, if you want to put trash cans out in the streetscape process. So.
No,
Just
put the
not
old one, go and put the old ones out because we're gonna tear up the street soon anyway. Not to mention that it'll be uniform in our area.
Yep. Okay. So Heidi, I've heard that. That's all I wanted to bring up on budget, just to make sure you're all comfortable that we'll take snow removal out. And once we get those estimates, that number pulled out, I'll send you back the budget that will be submitted with all that out. So, and you'll see a positive on it then.
Okay, that sounds good.
Good.
Okay, let's move to the BDC update.
Business Development Commission, I will turn to Julia.
BDC right now, we're working on how we are going to spend some budget. We're talking about new ways that we could open the lines of communication between business owners and the city. We are planning a coffee at the rec center where we can have an open invite for all business owners to come in, or I guess also potential business owners, and chat with some improvements that they would like to see. What else? I think that's pretty much it. We're kind of same thing. We're still kind of talking about maybe a map. There's a lot of ideas going around of how we can just increase some visibility with the businesses that we already have. And again, yeah, open lines of communication.
That sounds great. And there's so much changing in our business district. It'll definitely help to update maps and get the word out.
We're always trying to help identify Crossroads as Crossroads. People still don't really know what that district is, by that name. So always good to keep branding.
I don't know if it was branded a different name at one time. I don't think so, but I keep hearing it referred to as crossings. Like, it's amazing how many people call it crossings as I encounter them on the street. Oh, down in the crossings district. And I was like, what crossings do we have going on? So
When I was growing up, it was called Little
Little
Webster.
Webster,
Oh, that's cute.
Oh.
I like that.
because it was, because
Yeah.
you had a microcosm of everything. You had Ben Franklin and
Rex
Pink Poodle and
Kegels
Eagle
and
Drug and
Pink Poodle,
Bettendorf's.
Bettendorf's, yeah.
Studios, Bettendorf, yeah. Okay, let's move to the city update.
Officer Azul, Sergeant Flannery, anything from you? All right, so city update, lots going on here at the city. First of all, I just want to congratulate, I think Crossroads is the only pumped full business district right now with every seat filled, so congratulations on that, which I just have to say that usually doesn't happen, right, Heidi? I mean, that's
Right, it was
yeah,
my
so-
influence. It was my influence, of
Oh, you're
course.
right.
Not at all. But no, I'm very appreciative for that. So thank you very much, Julie, for coming on, and it's gonna be great.
Business, city update, a couple other things. Budget is underway. Obviously, we'll be submitting out and sending out this week our balancing act for people to have input on balancing the budget here at the city. Thankful to all of our team and our leaders for that. Council is also continuing their strategic planning conversation, which includes a strategic goal around economic development. So they've sent that to departments to work on some tactical goals. So you'll be seeing that draft and is being sent to you all also for some input. We can talk about it at a meeting or next meeting, but also just simply, if you have ideas, things that you think would be good economic development things, you'll be able to send them into me and we can incorporate them into our strategic planning. And then you had July 4th. Just wanted to highlight the parade and continues to be the same path, same route as always. And so we're coming through the Crossroads district, and Heidi, I'm assuming that we'll want to do the viewing, put a
Yep.
porta potty out and such in the
Yeah,
parking
we'll do
lot.
I assume that we'll do our standard ad in the Webster Kirkwood Times, and we'll do the parking lot behind the north side buildings, my side buildings, and we'll do the barricades and the porta potties again, and
Okay,
as we've
Sounds
always
good.
done. Yep.
sounds good. Eden will continue to host the carnival, so the Lions will continue to do that. I think July 4th, is it a Tuesday this year?
Hmm.
I believe it's a Tuesday, because I think it was Monday last year. What I do know is I believe plan to start a little later in the day with carnival, not be an 11 a.m. carnival, but probably more like 2 each of the days. So just to give you a heads up on some of the plans there. That is, I don't see Councilmember Franklin on, that's what I have, so.
Okay, does anybody else have anything? And it looks like our next meeting is April 19th, is that correct, Fran?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome.
I guess, Fran, you saw I popped in late.
Yes, I got you.
Thank you.
And I will email the 2 documents that we showed on the screen, have Fran send them out, so you all have it, so.
Okay,
Yep.
awesome, thank you. Okay, does anybody have anything else? And would anybody like to motion to adjourn?
I will motion.
Okay, anybody want to second that?
I'll
I
second.
can second.
Julie and Julia.
All those in favor say aye,
Hi.
Aye.
and those opposed say nay. All right, looks good. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you next month.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Have a good one.